My name is Simran Kahai. I am actually a faculty member at John Carroll University. We wanted to share the experience of my class called Global Immersion in India. We had this class for 6 weeks before we actually took the trip to India. I wanted my students to share their experiences that they had while they were in India. Before they left for 6 weeks, they were trained on different issues that are happening in India. For example, they learned about Indian culture, Indian politics, Indian economy, and the other issues that are faced by Indian population in India. So, of course, India has so many cultures. It's hard for us to group the Indian country as one particular style. So, if you were to talk to some Brahmin, for example, they would have a different story to tell. If you ask a Sikh woman, they may have a different story to tell. So I wanted my John Carroll students to tell their story from their land.
So when we landed in Delhi, we got off the airplane and we went through customs. It went pretty smoothly. We went to baggage claim, and everybody was getting their bags, and then we were greeted by some JCU graduates of the Global Business and Entrepreneurship program, and they greeted us with beautiful flower leis and gave us hugs, and we felt so welcome to India.
On the second day in India, we visited the Ashima Foundation, which translates to boundaryless in Hindi. The Ashima Foundation is a nonprofit organization that helps empower women and help them become entrepreneurs themselves. After that, we went to the Vision Launch School of Design and had a cultural program that was organized by JCU alumni from the Business Entrepreneurship program. They did dances for us, we shared pizza, Indian-styled pizza, and even got henna tattoos. And it was very fun to interact with them and learn from each other's differences.
So on the fourth day, we started off by visiting a factory called Yakult Dana in India, where they produce a probiotic drinkable yogurt. While we were at the factory, they showed us a PowerPoint of the history of the company, their current business model, and they even gave us a tour of the production facility. After we left their factory, we visited a market where we saw all sorts of Indian crafts. We walked around the market for about an hour, and this being my first day in India, I was very amazed to see how much detail goes into some of the items being sold. And then later that evening, we were actually surprised by Dr. Kai. She told us we would be visiting a Sikh temple. And so we visited the Sikh temple, and I was amazed by the intricate detail of the architecture of the temple, as well as some of the people I met while we were at the Sikh temple. So overall, I would say it was a very successful day.
Our first stop on our sightseeing tour was India Gate, which is located in the center of New Delhi. It's a 42-meter tall monument arch that was built to represent all the soldiers that fought in the First World War. After the India Gate, we headed down the Raj Path to Parliament, where we walked around the grounds, checked out the different ministry buildings, and even got to see the president's house. It was really fascinating, and his residence is actually one of the largest in the world. After the president's house, we headed to Gandhi's tomb, which is the site of his cremation in 1948. Gandhi is one of the most influential leaders in India, and it was a great experience, and there's an internal flame to represent him burning there. After Gandhi's tomb, we headed to Chandni Chowk Market, which is an outdoor market that's very vibrant and full of people and super crowded, located in Old Delhi. We got the bargain for our traditional Indian clothes, which some of us are wearing today. And then after the market, we headed to another site, which is a tomb made out of red sandstone. It was built in 1570, and it is actually the influence for the Taj Mahal, and it was really cool.
So early in the morning, we made our way to the Silver Mountains jewelry factory, where the Agrawal family welcomed us with open arms. It was very fascinating to see the production of each jewelry piece. They walked us through the entire process of hand cutting each individual stone and then polishing each stone and then laying it into the precious metals of gold and silver. We also got to see the silver tree be made, which the silver tree is a long rod of silver branching off into the bases of individual rings. And we got to see it go through the kiln and be washed off and cut, which is very fascinating.
At Chakadani, we experienced some of the old Indian culture. So we got to see some dances, some entertainment, and also some of the architecture and the food. So one of my favorite parts of Chakadani was getting to ride the elephants and the camels like they used to in India, and also eating the great food that they had from all over India.
So we went to a tea house after the Amber Fort, and it was amazing. It was very, very delicious tea. It was surprising to see that all of these different types of teas had like different effects on the body to make you either like feel better or like sleepy or like wake you up. It was just kind of cool to see like the different kinds of teas. Overall, I really miss Aditya. He was a very, very cool person to meet, and it was just really awesome to see his house and his parents, and it was fun.
Our last day in Jaipur was spent at the City Palace, which is at the heart of Jaipur, and it encompasses about 1/7 of the entire city, so it was huge. And it was a fusion of the two different major types of architecture in Jaipur, and that was really interesting to see. And the entire palace was a really beautiful representation of the history and art throughout Jaipur. And this was represented in the temples, museums, and courtyards throughout the palace.
What's interesting, however, about the Taj is really its symmetry. It's easy to see even from far away. It's crazy. From far away, everything seems perfectly symmetrical. You almost feel like you're in a surrealist landscape.
The minister was generous enough to invite us to this festival after our meeting with him. We're greeted by his staff, who guided us to a VIP tent where he met his wife, and she was kind enough to host us with drinks and snacks. And the tent was situated right next to the stage where they were having traditional dances, as well as speeches. I'm pretty sure the minister gave a speech there as well. And they showed us around to show some of the products around India that were being showcased at the festival as well.
In India, when we meet each other, we like to greet each other by holding our hands together and say Namaste.
Namaste.
What was unique about this trip was that we had the opportunity to meet with a wide variety of different kinds of people. We met with politicians, we met with business people, we met with educators, and we also had the opportunity to have Indian students travel with us, some who had come to John Carroll. And this made it just such a warm, immersive feeling.